Anyway, it's time to start the show.
It's time
Hello.
to light the music.
It's time to light the music. What are we doing?
Something lights.
On the Tudor show tonight. Dun, dun, dun.
Hey, everyone, it's Tudor Show.
It's time to put on codpiece. It's time to kill my wife. It's time to get things started on the Tudor show tonight. Dun, dun, dun. I think this is... I think this is the next thing.
Tudor Muppets.
Tudor Muppets.
Hello and welcome to Tudor I Hardly Know Her. This is our show, and we do it, and we try to teach you some things about the Tudors. Well, Emily does. I kind of crack jokes and ask questions sometimes.
That's
I am one of the hosts in one of three equal parts. We're like the Holy Trinity.
Are you the Father, Son, or the Holy Ghost? You're pale as shit. You're definitely the Holy Ghost.
I was gonna say, yeah, I'm the Holy Ghost because I'm quite a lot of the times. Jeff is the father because he produces.
And the beard. Jeff's got the beard of a father.
He's got the beard.
Majestic.
So you'd be the son?
Sure.
Because Jesus was a good teacher and he taught people. So yeah, there you go.
And I do have a propensity for turning one fish into 5,000 fish.
Which
she does.
Oh God,
Whenever I
tell
stir
me
with
that
water,
recipe
it becomes
again.
wine.
Secret skill. Yeah, but sometimes that water turns into wine when I don't want it to. I've gotten accidentally drunk at a lot of things.
Yeah, when
Stuff.
you have water cooler talk, people love you.
All my friends are using me for my wine power.
And as they should. You have a gift, Emily.
Hey, speaking of Christianity / Catholicism, sort of ish, kind of. There's the show on HBO called Gunpowder, and it's got Kit Harington and Liv Tyler and Mark Gatiss. And it was from December, and I watched 2 episodes of it. It's a 3-episode show, miniseries, and it is all about the Guy Fawkes gunpowder plot.
Is he Guy Fawkes?
No, he actually plays someone named not Guy Fawkes. There's Guy Fawkes and then not Guy Fawkes. In case I'm really good at history, guys. Welcome to the History Podcast where I teach you history. He plays Robert Catesby. And he's one of the guys who comes up with the gunpowder plot. So I heard about this a couple months ago, and I really wanted to watch it. Interesting. And I really wanted to watch it, but I forgot about it until Friday night when I was bored and Jeff wasn't home and I needed something to do. So I turned on Gunpowder thinking, oh, another historical show. This will be fun. It's not fun. It's good, but it is... Not
a fun time.
It's not fun times. So, background. The gunpowder plot happens during the reign of James the 6th/1st. He was reigning...
What year is this?
16. I was just about to say that. 1605.
Okay.
That was me. So he was reigning for 2 years after... And it was in the first 2 years of his reign, and the gunpowder plot was okay. Hold on, I'm really bad at telling this story. So James was Protestant. He was raised Protestant, and his whole country was Protestant, and Catholics were persecuted very, very violently. Priests were beheaded, and that whole hanging and gutting and decapitating and quartering and shipped off to 4 corners of the land.
The good stuff.
The good stuff. So, spoilers, it starts with Kit Harington and his aunt and her daughter are in a house, and they're having a secret mass hidden, and then some of the king's henchmen come up to the house, so they have to hide the priest. So, like, the main priest The main two priests are hidden in a secret wall, and another priest is hidden, or another. I don't think he's really a priest. I think he was like a altar boy. So he was hidden under a bench, and long story short, the guy hiding in the bench is discovered, and the aunt is like, "This is my home. I take responsibility for it." So they're like, "All right, we'll take you too," even though that wasn't the norm. You know, normally left the women alone. So they showed their execution. First, they showed hers, and she was pressed to death. And I never realized how fucking brutal that must have been. Because, like, first they stripped her, so total embarrassment. And the whole thing was like, repent. Say that you repent, and then we'll just behead you, and your death will be a lot easier. No, she wouldn't. She refused to. So what they did was, they put down this, like, triangular piece on the stage. And I was like, what the fuck is that for? Is that where she has to stand? Nope. They lay her down on top of it so that it's under her spine. And then they put a very heavy metal board on top. And then they slowly place like 100-pound weights on her until she's literally pressed to death. It was really intense.
We already had a torture episode, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was...
Yeesh.
Yeah. So,
How big was this triangle piece?
like the size of your hand.
Oh God.
Oh
I
no.
was not thinking that small.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It so, oh God, I'm just like, my back hurts just thinking about it. So,
Ugh.
good show. Very good show. But
That
it's,
also might help fix my scoliosis.
I don't think so.
Only one way to find out.
I don't think so.
Next on Tudor Mythbusters.
Will Preston Garrett help his scoliosis? No, but it's a really good
more weight.
it's a really
more weight.
I think you've almost
stuff.
got it.
Almost there.
So it's a very good show, but it is very intense, and it very much reminds you that this really happened, and that it was an extremely brutal time, and it was a terrible time to be a Catholic in England, because it's kind of easy to forget that actually happened, but this does not let you forget. Gunpowder, good show. It's on HBO.
All right.
Check it out. And one more thing. Jeff's looking up to the ceiling like the most quintessential ADD child ever.
My neck.
Jeff is bored.
No, my neck hurt.
Sure, Jan.
Your neck hurts? Well, I've heard of this ancient remedy.
We can try pressing it into shape.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Just lay a bunch of weights on your face.
So I saw a thing on, I don't fucking know what, but it was talking about generations. And if you think about it, we've only gone through in the last couple thousand years a couple of generations. Well, not a couple, but not that many generations. It's kind of been freaking me out ever since I read about it.
Just realizing like how long ago we
Yeah.
used to do these public
Yeah, like
tortures.
think about, okay, so here's an example. 1503, Henry VII is king. Henry VIII is still a kid. And then 1603. The difference between them is only like one granddaughter.
Yep.
It really freaks me out. Like, I've been thinking about it so much, and it's just so weird to think how.
Well, it's weird thinking like my.
I think it's freaking me out. It's giving me like an existential crisis.
It's like my grandmother. She was like my dad's mother. She was born in like 1918.
Your dad's mom
Yeah,
was born in 1918.
because I mean, you think of she would be 93, and
Holy
she died
shit.
in like around like 2013.
Oh my god.
Jeez Louise.
And so think about like how long ago.
Fuck. See, when I'm watching a historical show, like I was watching Downton Abbey, And that takes place in the Edwardian period, the 1910s, and then I think early 1920s.
Yeah.
And the Dowager Countess Grantham, she is an old biddy. And
Is that Maggie Smith?
when I
Okay.
think about it, I realize that she would have lived through Queen Victoria's reign, the American Civil War, and World War One.
See,
That's what fucks with me
that's the
is
weirdest
people who
thing.
lived through the American Civil War and World War One.
Yeah.
It's just
You just
like,
don't, you just don't
hypothetically-
realize how close actually things are in history.
hypothetically somebody could have lived through the American Civil War, World War One, and World War Two.
Hmm.
History just fucks with me, guys. It's giving me an existential crisis. You know what doesn't give me an existential crisis?
What's that?
Ladies in waiting.
What are they waiting for?
They are waiting for Godot. That's a theater joke.
Godot.
Godot.
They are waiting for Gal Gadot. Garrett gave me this topic suggestion, so thank God for Garrett, because last night I got home from work and I was like, I need to research. And then I was like, I have no fucking clue what to talk about.
And
So
then here
then-
I come to save
Oh,
the
on came
day.
Garrett. Oh, yes, that's true. You did save the day.
Yeah.
So Garrett suggested we talk about ladies in waiting. First, he recommended we talk about notable ladies in waiting, but I really think the notable ones were the ones who became Henry's wives.
Wah, wah.
So we're gonna chat about the role of the ladies in waiting.
I like this. Yeah, let's do it. And whoever suggested it, good on you.
Good on the random stranger who just whispered in my ear, "Talk about ladies in waiting," and then ran away. Are you boys ready to
Yeah.
rumble?
Yeah, let's do
in
it.
the jungle. So we're gonna start off with a little bit of history about the ladies in waiting.
They take a number.
They take a number, then they're just stuck in a waiting room. So it is thought that it was quoted that a man who did not know how to serve did not know how to command, which I thought was very interesting. And that comes up because Margaret of Denmark, she was the Queen of Scots, like 2 generations before Henry VIII's time. Her son,
What was the quote? A man who does not know how to serve does not know how to command.
yes.
Man, that huh.
You know, I kind of feel
All
like
right.
I feel like that's good advice.
That needs to come back.
And the reason
That
it
needs to
comes
come
up is
back.
because I know, let's just get it tattooed on ourselves. Margaret of Denmark actually made her son, the future King James IV, wait on her. I actually think that she was full of shit and just wanted someone to do her bidding. And she was like, well, you're right there. Mom, I'm a prince. I don't care. Give me wine. And really, that's the only reason I want children. Can't wait to make those little shits do dishes. So, a lady
if
in
you have
waiting.
a kid, why wouldn't you?
I mean, I think that's why my parents had so many.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so that they could always
Free
have
labor.
Will
someone-
do the yard work. This one
Yeah.
will do the dishes. This
Yes.
one does the laundry.
Precisely.
This one
And then
massages.
this one's spoiled.
This one massages my feet every night.
This one's spoiled. This one's the favorite. So they were called ladies in waiting, but there were really 2 types. There was a lady in waiting and then a maid of honor. So a lady in waiting.
Is that where the thing comes from for weddings?
I don't know if that's where the name is, but bridesmaids originally come from the days where men would kidnap their brides from tribes, and then the tribes would try and kidnap them back. So they would get all the ladies who wore the same clothes as the bride, and that way they would kidnap the wrong person.
That lucky girl.
And also, the reason white wedding dresses are so expensive is because historically, you could never re-wear a white dress because they were impossible to clean. And also, Queen Victoria started the trend of white wedding dresses. That's not Tudor, but it's still history, which counts. So anyway, when when a girl was around 12, she would get sent to the household of an equal or higher rank. So, if she was a knight's daughter, she could really only go up. But like an earl's daughter might then go and be in the household of another earl's wife, or
And did this always happen?
they tried really hard. It was part of her education.
Okay.
So they acted as attendants on their mistress, and that's what she would have been, the mistress. They were companions more than servants. I wrote companion more than friend. They were companions more than servants, so they would do some servant-ish stuff, but they were really for like prestige, and the girls would get education, and the mistresses of the house would have somebody to help them do shit. So then what would happen is the girl would grow up and get married, and then she would train other girls. So it was this endless cycle. The girl might actually marry the son of the household they served in which case she'd become the mistress of the household. And since she served the previous mistress, she would know exactly how it's run. So fathers and mothers tried really hard to get their daughters places in good households. It was really important to their education. So a queen would have noblemen's daughters as her ladies in waiting, and then those ladies in waiting would usually have their own attendant or two. And some of them might actually have their own ladies. So let's say a queen had a duchess who was her lady in waiting. Well, the duchess might have a couple of her own ladies in waiting who would then in turn have their own servants. It's a lot of fucking people. Got it?
Mm-hmm.
Engaging topic, I know.
I'm listening intently.
Very intently. So they would also have lower servants. Those were the ones who would do the cleaning and the laundry and all that shit that nobody actually likes doing to this day. So a lady in waiting would be a married older woman. They would be closer to friends than anything. They wouldn't necessarily always be in attendance. So if they were married, they might, whenever they got pregnant, they'd go home. They'd take care of their own families for a little bit. So there were paid ladies in waiting, and they would be expected to be there more often than not. But then there were like unpaid ladies in waiting who were really just more at friends. They were the noblemen's wives who would come to court. They would hang out with the queen, chill with her, but they could kind of come and go as they pleased. Here's an example. The Countess of Rutland, between 1523 and 1539, it's not very long, guys, 16 years, she had 11 children.
Ooh.
But she still managed to serve Anne Boleyn, Jane Seymour, Anne of Cleves, and Catherine Howard. So 4 of the 6 queens.
Well, I mean, if it not lasting that long.
That's true. So some were paid and some weren't. And the ones who weren't paid were the ones who were only there time to time. And they could either get a salary that was quarterly or cash on a it said ad hoc basis, like on a per job basis. They were freelancers, freelance ladies in waiting. So they'd get about 10 pounds a year plus livery. And I wasn't quite sure what livery for a female would look like, because livery for a male, it's like specific colored jerkins and leggings and probably cod pieces. I don't know what the lady in waiting livery would look like. I was always kind of confused about this. I see some historical things that show the ladies in waiting all wearing the same or similar colors to the queen, but I see others where they don't. So I'm not quite sure. I'm not sure if that's always supposed to be an artistic choice or if it's a historical choice.
I was going to say maybe it phased out or changed in some time period. I don't know.
The details did change from queen to queen, so it could have changed like that. So then there were maids of honor, and the maids of honor were unmarried, and they were around 60. They were supposed to be 16 years old. They tried not to do them much younger. And then there was a woman who had direct supervision of those maids, and she was called the Mother of Maids, which is a delightful name. But there was actually one Mother of Maids. Hold on, let me find it. I wrote it down. Elizabeth Somerset. Wait. Nope, I'm a liar. Elizabeth Stoner.
Elizabeth Shitstone.
Sorry, I couldn't read my own writing.
She got teased a lot in high school.
Elizabeth Shitstoner. Elizabeth Stoner was the mother of maids under all 6 queens. So there was one woman, I wish I could have had a conversation with her because she served under every single wife, and I'm like desperate to know what that must have been like. So
just to recap, just to make sure I've got this straight. So a lady in waiting would be married.
Yes.
And she would be like an attendant to a woman.
Yes.
To the queen.
Yes.
And then maids of honor, I would assume they'd be like a little bit lower ranking because they were younger and whatnot. They were kind of in training.
Not necessarily lower ranking, but yes, they were younger. Like you could have a 16-year-old daughter of the Duke as a maid in waiting.
And then there'd be
or maid of honor.
The mother of maids who would like kind of rule over all of them. She's like the madam for them all.
Isn't the madam the name of someone who owns a brothel?
Yes.
I feel
Madam.
I
mean, are you telling me that that the life of a lady in waiting and a maid and all that they weren't just kind of
I mean, you bring that up. It's true. They did kind of pimp their daughters out as mistresses and potential wives. So you're right. You're right.
Would there be any relation with the mother of maids to any of those girls or no?
Yeah, I think so. I don't.
Okay.
Because I'm pretty sure Elizabeth Boleyn may have served Catherine of Aragon. No, she didn't serve at the same time. No, sorry, Shelton.
Shelton.
Shelton. Yes, Anne Shelton served Anne Boleyn. She was her aunt, and her daughter also served Anne Boleyn. So yes, they could have that mother-daughter relationship in there.
Okay.
And being the mother of maids was really about prestige and whatnot. So if she earned it, she would have gotten it. So in the house of ladies that were not super high ranking, so like the wife of a knight, they would oversee the running of the house, and they would be a little bit more hands-on than perhaps like a queen, a duchess, or what's an earl's wife called? A countess? I'm pretty sure that's a countess. It is because of Downton Abbey. Thank you, Downton. So they would not be as hands-on, but the wives of lesser nobility would be. So, for example, in the kitchen, they might do a little bit of kind of baking that they enjoyed. They wouldn't make their own meals necessarily, but for example, Lady Lyle made something called quince marmalade. I don't know what quince marmalade is.
Marmalade talk.
Quince is 5.
Oh my God, we finally did it.
What?
Welcome.
We finally get to have marmalade talk.
Back to marmalade
Oh
talk.
my God, you're right.
About our favorite marmalades made by Lyle.
Fuck, we're gonna.
This first.
We're calling this one
is
Marmalade
the
Talk.
Quinceanera marmalade made by Lady Lyle.
And sent to
It's
Henry VIII.
Very good. I give it 2 spoons up.
I think you should give this quince marmalade 5 spoons, Garrett.
You know what? I think you're right.
This episode is being called.
Talk.
This episode's being called Marmalade Talk. Finally.
Marmalade Talk parentheses. We finally made it.
Yes. So she made.
Finally, Marma made it.
She made it and sent it to Henry VIII, and he really liked it apparently. They would also make medicines. The article I was reading said potions, but I don't think they were witchy potions. What?
Mr. Potter.
Yeah, Snape was in there. So if the mistress of the household was doing that, the ladies would also help. The ladies in waiting, but for other other,
You said they would make potions?
yeah, potions.
I always just, maybe it's just because of, Harry Potter and media and stuff, but I always assume potions have like a negative connotation with like witchcraft and stuff like that.
I did too.
Love potion number 9.
But I guess not.
I mean, maybe they either came back into vogue or like it
No,
happened
I
later
think-
on where they're
I
like,
think-
no, this is witch shit.
I think potions were, I don't know.
Or maybe it's just kind of a catch-all for like something that cures what ails you.
Yeah, I think we can say that.
Can we like have all our
Okay.
drugs today be changed to potions? So like when I go to the pharmacy, I have to go
Yes.
pick up some pills. They're like, "Here's your potion, sir."
Yes. I think we should do that.
It
Let's
boosts
just
your
start,
strength.
Let's just start calling that.
I'm gonna start calling my Coca-Cola's potions.
Do it.
They increase speed.
So, for
Increase weight.
also yes. So for the less or for the wealthier, more noble households, this is what the ladies in waiting usually did. Needlework was super important. I would have been a baller lady in waiting. I am very
we
good.
all know that.
Very good. Oh, I have really good news. I was listening to the Queen's podcast, and I was listening to an episode that's a couple weeks old. It's about Diane de Poitiers, and they had rules of beauty in the Renaissance time. And according to those rules of beauty, I would have been considered quite a beauty for the courts, besides the fact that my eyes are blue and I have freckles. So
Oh.
the rules were dark hair, dark eyebrows, and dark eyelashes. No,
Loves the Tudors.
loves the tutor. Obsessed with Henry
No
VIII.
uggos.
No uggos. Pale skin, big thighs. I win on that one. Pear-shaped women. Do you guys know the body shapes of women that we're confined
Yeah,
to?
there's like a pear, hourglass.
Apple.
Apple.
Yeah.
What's apple?
A-
Well, okay.
Round.
So I am pear-shaped, and apparently that was the shape they liked back then. Tiny boobs! Tiny boobs!
That's the name of the episode. Just all caps, tiny boobs, exclamation point, tiny boobs.
so many people are gonna get a bunch of like negative reviews. Like, I was very misinformed about this podcast. There was very little boob talk about in this.
They
episode.
can see the the explicit tag. They know what they're getting into.
Also tiny boobs. Anyway, so needlework was very important back then. No matter how wealthy your household was, you usually ended up making the shirts and shifts of the people who lived there. So Catherine of Aragon famously made Henry VIII his shirts, even while he was with Anne Boleyn. Like, for a couple of fucking years during the Anne Boleyn thing, Catherine was still making his shirts until Anne Boleyn had a fit and told him to tell her to stop. So, yeah. Needlework was very important. The ladies also had to be skilled in music, dancing, playing chess, reading, hunting and hawking, archery, bowls, which is like bowling, marbles, and gambling.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Gambling.
So, the Queen's ladies would also be involved in court ceremonies. So if ambassadors or foreign dignitaries were visiting, they would greet them, they would entertain them. There were masks. The women were usually selected based on how pretty they were, not on really their dancing skill, but that would be a perk. And then they would dance with the foreign kings, foreign ambassadors, things like that. So
I can't tell if this is like a bullshit like
prerequisite.
I can't say that fucking word. Prerequisites for a job interview, or like a really picky chick's like Tinder bio, like looking for a guy that can do bowling.
I like the
gambling,
Tinder bio thing.
Needlework.
I really like the Tinder bio
has
thing.
an hourglass figure. I'm sorry,
No,
pear-shaped
pear-shaped,
figure.
dude, with tiny boobs.
He has tiny boobs and loves gambling.
So it was really important that the ladies in waiting be pretty. That was almost one of the key things. Like,
And that
you
too.
had to be kind of noble-ish. Like a peasant couldn't come off the street and be a lady in waiting. but you had to have connections to the court, and you had to be pretty. So Catherine of Aragon.
Oh my God, movie idea.
Tell me.
It's called. I've got a title too. It's called "Waiting on a Lady." And it's about these 3 peasant girls, and they're like super trashy and like just really loud, obnoxious people, and they somehow fake their way into becoming ladies of waiting for a queen.
I think that'd be hilarious. I would watch that.
And like they're just so rambunctious, and they just suck at everything. They just can't get it right. But you know what?
I will.
They learn a little thing or two from the queen, and the queen learns a couple things from them.
Knowing Hollywood, Reba Wilson would be one of them.
Who?
Reba Wilson.
Rebel Wilson.
Rebel Wilson.
Sorry,
I
Rebel.
hate her.
And then they all get beheaded. It's a feel-good movie, I think.
I'd watch that movie without Rebel Wilson.
Yeah.
I hate her.
But in this movie, it stars you, me, and Jeff as the ladies.
Oh my
Jeff and I are
God,
in
yes.
full drag. Jeff keeps his beard.
Uh,
Never explained, never addressed.
I love it. Let's do it. So, the pretty importance thing, it was interesting how they enforced that. So, when Catherine of Aragon was still with her parents in Spain and preparing to come over to marry Prince Arthur, King Henry VII told her parents, make sure you're only sending beautiful ladies with her. We don't want any of those uggos. Because he a dick. So if a princess was marrying abroad, so she would bring her own ladies. And
I don't think princesses were marrying very many broads back then.
Shut up. So she would bring her own ladies, and sometimes the ladies would stay. They might marry into their new kingdom. For example, Catherine of Aragon, 2 of her ladies married Englishmen. One was Maria de Salinas, and she married somebody, and then they had a daughter, Catherine Willoughby, who married Charles Brandon.
Okay.
So, but sometimes the king was a dick. For example, Louis XII, the old guy who married Henry's sister Mary,
Yeah.
he sent all of her ladies home. But if the ladies who went with them, some would usually be about her age, because mostly these were like 15-year-old girls. So there'd be some who'd be with them for companionship. So anyway, some of the ladies would also be older women who would kind of guide the adolescent girls into how to behave. There were only a certain number of spots available, so there'd be like this whole March Madness thing to try and secure your position.
Everyone filling out their brackets.
Yeah.
For who's going to be a lady in waiting.
Ah, damn it. I got Anne this time around.
Hey, she made it. So they'd have about 33 spots.
This would be like one of the 5 Anns that were probably waiting.
So there were,
I drew Anne. Which one? Oh.
so there were about 33 spots, and the ladies would also have a number of attendants limited. So if you became a lady, you could only bring a certain number of maids to help you. So what would usually happen is a mother who was, let's say, a countess. She wanted her daughter to.
So wait, time out. So like the lady in waiting who was serving the nobility.
Yes.
She would bring her own posse of maids of honors.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Depending on her position. Like a knight's daughter wouldn't. Like Anne Boleyn and Mary Boleyn, they probably only had one attendant each. But let's say the Duchess of Suffolk, Mary Tudor, she would have brought her own ladies in waiting, and they all would have had their own attendants. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Okay.
I like this idea of a whole like battle royale scene of those women trying to see who's going to be in the top ladies of waiting.
Pretty sure that's what happened. They were all tossed into a pit and just gladiatored it.
Like Henry just like snaps a stick in half and gives it to her like, all right,
Oh, that's
you know what to do.
Yes. The podcast is over. That's what happened. So what would usually actually happen is, let's say, an earl and his wife, the countess. Let's say they had a daughter who was 16 years old and they wanted her to have a place at court. They would petition the queen and ask the queen to take them if they were close enough, but they would also kind of develop, the earl and the countess might petition the king and queen themselves if they knew, but if they didn't know them, they might then ask their friends at court to talk to the queen and just try and kind of build up a stronghold of supporters at court who would put their daughter in the ladies in waiting positions. So when you became a lady in waiting, you had to swear an oath of allegiance to the mistress, which sounds very Game of Thrones. And you had to promise to uphold the household ordinances, which were basically just the rules of conduct. You had to bring your own bed linen. And if you were a maid, you were allowed to bring a single woman to serve you. You were provided board, which included food, lodging, and kindling for your winter fire.
Oh.
They knew how to supply. Talk about work benefits. We offer a flexible environment. You can come and go as you please.
If you know
I'm
what
just
I
kidding.
mean.
I'm just kidding. So here's a little bit of a breakdown about how it worked. So in the queen's household, there were almost like 3 tiers of lady in waiting. For the lady in waiting, for the queens or duchesses or whatever, there were like 3 tiers of lady in waiting. So let me kind of break down how the queen's rooms would work. There'd be the presence chamber, and that's where they would meet political guests. The privy chamber, which are the private rooms. And then there's the bed chamber, which is where the bed was. So the most senior ladies would be the lady of the bed chamber, and then the lady of the privy chamber, and then ladies who would just attend you in the presence chamber. So it was kind of different for Queen Regnant, which is a reigning queen. So Queen Mary I and Queen Elizabeth I. So they each had 3 ladies of the bedchamber. Below them would be 7 ladies and gentlewomen of the privy chamber, and they were typically unpaid, the gentlewomen. Below them would be 4 chambers, and they did like the menial tasks. And then below them would be 6 maids of honor. Then there would also be all those great ladies, the wives of the noblemen in the court, but who were at the court, but not necessarily part of the household. So like Mary Tudor wouldn't have been, she would have been a great lady. So she could have gone to Catherine of Aragon, but she wouldn't have been technically an attendant upon her.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't really care. So some of the women, they would get, their positions would change depending on the reigning queen, which in those days was a lot, apparently. For example, Lady Catherine Grey, who was actually the sister of Jane Grey, the 9 Days Queen, she was a gentlewoman of the bedchamber to Mary, but then when Elizabeth came to the throne, she was demoted to a lady of the presence chamber for Elizabeth. And so your position wasn't always secure. Anne Boleyn learned that. Jane Seymour learned that. Catherine Howard learned that. Jane Rochford learned that. Kind of depended on what's happening. But each queen had their own like different kind of demands. Many of them seemed pretty whatever, normal. But then there was Elizabeth. When she was queen, she was incredibly demanding, especially in her later years. And if you remember when we talked about Robert Dudley, she was like jealously insane about him. But her favorite ladies in waiting, she didn't allow them very much time away from court. So she kind of surrounded herself with a lot of her mother's family, the Carey family. Catherine Carey, Lady Knollys, every time she had a kid, she had to come back to court almost immediately. Elizabeth did not give her much time to recover from that. And apparently later on in her years, Elizabeth would get a little angry, just like her father, and she would throw items at the younger maids in waiting. So she was probably a delightful boss. Bet you she didn't get a card for National Bosses Day. So a lady would also serve food in privacy. So Elizabeth preferred to eat in privacy. So the ladies would serve her wine, carve her meat, all that stuff. But then they would also help her take care of like the day-to-day getting ready stuff. They would wash her, clothe her. They did her hair. They did her makeup. They added her jewelry. So they were kind of really important. Elizabeth needed them. And if you guys want, I have a list of some of the important ladies in waiting, if you want to hear them.
Go on.
Okay. So there are names besides Elizabeth and Anne.
Don't believe it.
Not the first one, though. Her name was Elizabeth Holland. She was actually, we talked about her when we talked about the Duke of Norfolk. She was his mistress, and she was an attendant of Anne Boleyn. Later on, she served Jane Seymour. There was also a woman named Marjorie Horseman. That's almost as bad as Shitstone.
Did you say horseman?
Horseman.
Like BoJack Horseman?
Yes.
God, I love it. I love her already.
It's reported that she was one of the women who gave evidence against Anne Boleyn. I don't know how true that is.
Horseman, how could you?
But she also served Jane, and it's possible she did because she got rewarded. She ended up being the keeper of the Queen's jewels under Jane.
Anne goes up to her and says, "Did you betray me?" And she says, "Nay."
Fuck you.
You're all welcome.
Okay, moving on. Then there was Jane Boleyn, who we know about. There was Nan Cobham, and she also may have given evidence against Anne Boleyn. Then,
Everybody had it out for her.
I mean, Anne was not popular because she ousted a very popular and well-loved queen. So then there was
Haters.
Then there was Mary Scrope, and these women all served Anne when she was put in the Tower. They were actually put in by Cromwell and his lackeys to spy on Anne and report what she was doing while she was preparing to be beheaded. So that include Mary Scrope, her aunt, Anne Shelton, who was not very sympathetic towards her, Margaret Dymoke, which is the best name. She later went on to serve Jane Seymour. And then there was that Elizabeth Stoner, the one who was the mother of the maids under all six queens. And then, of course, we know Jane Seymour was a lady in waiting who became the queen. There was also a woman named Bridget Wingfield, and she was a neighbor of the Boleyns. They lived at Hever Castle, and Bridget Wingfield lived nearby. So she served under both Catherine of Aragon and Anne Boleyn. She died in 1933, but before she died, she was supposed
Did you say 1933?
1533, sorry.
Oh my God.
Sorry. Before she died, she was said to have written a letter to a friend about Anne's sexual history before Henry VIII, which is partially why people believed that Anne actually had the affair with all five men. She also had Mary Shelton serving her. She was her cousin. Elizabeth Somerset. This is one of my favorites. She served at Anne Boleyn's coronation, and during the feast, she held a fine cloth in front of Anne whenever she wanted to spit. I need a spitting cloth.
Spit maid, this way, please.
Spit bitch. Spit bitch. She may have been the one who suggested that Anne and her brother were having an incestuous relationship.
Ooh.
So a little bit of history outside of what Lady in Waiting was like outside of Europe. Most of Europe was about the same with their Lady in Waiting. However, outside of Europe, they were more of a slave. Although they still had the same tasks, they were still slaves. And then, in certain courts where polygamy was allowed, they were used for their sexual services.
Hooray.
Hooray, that's disgusting.
I mean,
so when do you guys think the Lady in Waiting job died off?
Victorian era.
Jeff?
I don't know. I don't know how long Victoria, what her time period was.
Victoria?
I'd
She died in
say,
1901.
Okay, because I feel like that's how I feel like she would have been one of the final ones.
You are both wrong. Ladies in Waiting still exist.
Oh, really?
Yep. Princess Diana was assigned some after she married Prince Charles, who was a dick. And Kate Middleton, I believe, has some. And it's a very similar role. They're companions. They're there to help them kind of navigate a bunch of crap and just
A
be
hired best friend.
a hired bestie.
It sounds like some like bullshit Paris Hilton would have invented. I'm sure it's relevant.
It's just, I
Here,
mean,
hold my dog.
so here's the thing though, like if you join the royal family, you are part of a very elite group and they're very close, and it's not easy to get new friends once you're part of that royal family.
This is true.
So the lady in waiting, it's a companion to kind of guide you on certain things. It's somebody to help you, but they might end up becoming a friend, and then like they can get rid of them, I believe.
And that's the thing, like did these ladies in waitings and the people they serve, like did they actually like each other?
Yeah,
Were
yeah,
there,
yeah,
like,
yeah,
some
I
that
think
just,
so.
Like, fucking hated each other.
I think
Or was
so.
it like Stockholm syndrome?
I don't think there's Stockholm syndrome. I think they did like each other.
Okay.
And I think the
I mean, was there like an intense vetting process? Like, what do you think about this girl? I don't like her
I think it was
face.
still about the aristocracy. I think it's still about who's who, because there are still earls and dukes, so it would be their children. They are currently in their roles. They're unpaid. It's like a part-time. It's like a part-time gig.
It's like an internship.
But they
I was gonna say, yeah.
they would get reimbursed. They would also sometimes.
with life experiences and things to put on a resume.
And exposure.
This counts towards your college classes. They would sometimes get clothes, travel, and then they might get a room in the houses that they lived in. So that's it.
Are we talking about now?
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
What do you mean, what the fuck?
Like, you're a lady in waiting and you don't get paid for it?
It's a part-time thing.
Okay.
I have
also
to tell you.
barista.
Can you come in on Saturday? We're going to be kind of swamped. I can't. I got to go hang out with the princess.
So I have to tell you guys something super funny about Twitter.
Okay.
One of our Twitter followers, like really took to the whole Henry is Kanye the Eighth thing, and she is on Twitter as Henry the Baith, and
That's
it's so fucking perfect because she nails it, like exactly what we were talking about. So she finds Kanye tweets and then assigns Henry moments to them. So for example, Henry, whenever one of his advisors opens their mouths, and then here's a Kanye tweet: please avoid trying to talk me out of being me in the future. Henry, in a moment of clarity: my number one enemy has been my ego. There's only one throne, and that is God's. Henry, when Edward was born: I'm not even gonna lie to you, I love me so much right now.
oh my god.
Hold on,
that's
this one's one of
perfect.
my favorite. Anyone, you can't annul your marriage with Catherine of Aragon. You're being crazy. I'm happy and free and proud and confident. I'm not crazy, I'm free. Like, she nailed it. I was dying.
Kudos to you. Don't get more Twitter followers than us. That's gonna hurt our ego.
No.
Actually, do. No, you know what? You go out there and get it.
But
girl.
then
This
once
is
you
your
get
year.
the followers, send them to us.
Yeah.
So
No, that's so awesome.
it was delightful.
And-
She nailed it.
And is this a thing independent of us, or is that directly based on our joke?
Directly based on our joke.
God, that's fucking.
I'm pretty.
awesome.
I mean, I'm pretty fucking sure. She said it, she was. Hold on. She tweeted to us about it. She said, Tudor Know Her mentioned in a few episodes that they thought Kanye was like a modern day Henry VIII, and I honestly can't get that image out of my head. Creds to Tudor Know Her for putting the idea of Kanye being the new Henry VIII.
There we go.
So hooray! Also, my little celebrity encounter for today. I tweeted to Karen Kilgariff from My Favorite Murder, and she liked my tweets. So now I'm just like kind of fangirling.
That's how I felt when my favorite band liked my Facebook post when I tagged them in it, and it made me feel like real
Isn't it
gooey
delightful?
inside.
You just feel so cool.
It's like that time
Yeah.
we had that picture of me and you, Garrett, with Tommy Tallarico, and he commented on
that's a
it.
good
Like
picture.
we were
He
just
liked it.
so happy.
It's delightful. That's it for Ladies in Waiting.
I just
Alright.
keep visualizing.
That was a good
I just
one.
keep visualizing the waiting room from Beetlejuice.
That's it. That's what it is.
I felt way more engaged that episode.
Good. I'm glad.
despite all of our technical
All the
issues.
It's all right.
noises.
We can deal. So find us on Twitter at Tutor Know Her.
Yeah, if you want.
And find us on Facebook at Tutor I Hardly Know Her.
Sure.
You don't have to.
Hello and welcome to all of our new listeners. It's super cool to have you guys listening to us. And super happy that you found our Facebook page. It's pretty fucking thrilling. And rate and review.
Yeah, give us reviews on iTunes and stuff. Let iTunes know how you feel about us.
And let others know how you feel about us.
We're a solid 4.
I mean, we're going strong. I'm taking 4. Like, I know we're not for everybody. I'll take 4.
4's good.
Until next time.
Divorce, beheaded, died.
Divorce, beheaded, survived. Goodbye.
Bye.